As NATO talks about increasing defense spending amid growing security concerns continue ahead of the upcoming summit in The Hague, Israel conducted Operation Rising Lion targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories, and military chain of command. To talk about the latest developments, Daniel Fried, former U.S. ambassador to Poland, joins me here on World News Tonight. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining me on the program, especially on a day like this.
Thanks for having me.
So let's take a look at the live feed from Tel Aviv that was provided to us. As we can see on the pictures that are going to appear on our screens in just a moment, we can see that there were other strikes in Tel Aviv. We know that there was a missile from Iran that actually managed to hit the target. We know that the Operation Rising Lion has taken place over the past few hours. And throughout the day, here at Central CET time, we have heard about new Israeli attacks. This is the live feed that we can see. So let's jump into our first subject. Operation Rising Lion was conducted overnight. It continued throughout the day. It was supposed to thwart Iran's efforts to advance in its nuclear ambitions. Do you think this leads to further escalation, and what could potentially happen next?
Well, escalation is certainly possible, but the Israelis do seem to have hit the Iranians very hard. I don't know how much damage has been done to the Iranian nuclear infrastructure. That's crucial. If there has been little damage, the Iranians are going to press ahead with uranium enrichment, and that could lead to bad results. But if its nuclear facilities have been hit, then the Israelis have really succeeded in pushing the Iranians back, both by hitting their military leadership and their nuclear program. But I don't know the status of the damage assessments. In the meantime, it's clear that Netanyahu, who on Gaza is, in my view, a destructive player without a plan to do anything except kill people and put off any solution, is a much shrewder and cannier player when it comes to regional issues. The Israeli strikes against Hezbollah and Iran earlier have weakened Iran, weakened its position, and degraded its ability to make trouble for Israel and the West. Trump has managed to create leverage for himself in his attempt to negotiate with Iran. Basically, he's in a position to say to the Iranians, deal with me, maybe I'll be able to restrain Netanyahu, or don't deal with me, in which case, deal with Netanyahu yourselves. That is a shrewd position. Unfortunately, Trump does not apply that kind of shrewdness and search for effective leverage to Ukraine and Russia, where he is leaving perfectly good leverage on the table. That's not what you asked about, but frankly, that occurred to me when I heard of the Israeli strike.
So since we're on the subject of the U.S. in relation to this operation that took place and is currently taking place, as we understand, what do you think was the role that the U.S. actually played in this attack? And do you think that Iran's retaliation is actually going to target the U.S. as well?
I don't know what the U.S. role is. We do know that the Israelis tipped us off because Trump knew about the attack. We pulled some of our personnel out of the region, so we knew. I tend to believe the administration's line that it did not assist the Israelis. I think the Israelis are capable of mounting this attack on their own. So I think the administration is right. I think Iran would be ill-advised to go after American targets. Trump could easily respond if they did that. And I think Iran has been hit hard enough that it won't want to tangle with us at this point. So there are dangers in this current situation, to be sure, but this is not like Israeli attacks against Gaza that advance no good objective that I can see. These attacks against Iran could advance a settlement based on the reality of a degraded Iranian program, and that's what I hope is the case. It's dangerous, but not mindless. And the Israelis, you notice, have not gone after Iranian civilian targets, nor should they.
So, what do you think is going to be the future of the global security, the impact on global security as we stand now? I mean, we're obviously looking at Russia being at war with Ukraine, and we have another conflict brewing in the Middle East. How do you think this is going to affect global security?
Well, in the short run, the price of oil has skyrocketed. Companies, markets are worried about Iranian retaliation. So there's the issue of immediate crisis management and the possibility that this is not over, that the Israelis and Iranians will keep going after it. But your question is an interesting one. Our adversaries, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, work together. Weakening Iran also weakens Russia in its war against Ukraine. It's a good idea, therefore, that America start working with its friends, starting with Europe. We have real adversaries. We don't need to be picking fights with our friends over second or third order issues. And Poland may be in an excellent position to try to convince the Trump administration to opt for a, let's say, free world strategy, as opposed to a spheres of influence or deals with dictators strategy. I think Poland is in a position to do that, and this represents a Polish national security consensus that I've observed just about across the board in Poland. So I think the Trump administration would be well advised to recognize that if America's adversaries work together as they are, America's friends should work together as they could be.
In relation to what you just said, what do you think is going to be the immediate future of the U.S. foreign policy in regards to Russia, looking at the situation from a broader perspective, just like you pointed out now?
Well, I wish I knew. Successive American presidents since Bill Clinton have tried to deal constructively with Russia. They have all failed, not because we didn't try, but because Russia was unwilling to work with us on anything except its own terms. And those terms included freedom for the Kremlin to repress at home and act aggressively against anybody it considered to be in Russia's empire or sphere of domination. Trump should not make the same mistake. He should recognize that as long as Putin is president of Russia, Russia will not be our friend or a reliable partner. Stop chasing them. I'm not saying that Russia can never be a better country than it is now. I'm just saying that for the present, recognize Russia for the problem that it is and act accordingly.
Let's move away from that subject and yet stay close to it at the same time. June 24th to 25th, we'll see a major NATO summit in The Hague. What do you think the summit will bring, and if any at all, major breakthroughs for Ukraine?
Well, I don't think there'll be major breakthroughs for Ukraine. I'll be satisfied if the summit at least does a little bit of good and no harm for Ukraine. I'd like to see strong language about supporting Ukraine, about backing Ukraine security. I would like to see the language on Ukraine's ultimate place in NATO at least not getting any worse. I'd like to see language that can be read as a continued American commitment to Article 5 and the defense of Europe. I would like to see language that encapsulates the Europeans' newfound enthusiasm for building up their militaries and their military industries after decades of neglect. So I can see a lot of possibilities for decent language and for progress, but I'll be satisfied if at least there is no harm done. I think that the Trump administration is working toward a positive summit. The U.S. ambassador to NATO, Ambassador Whitaker, has suggested as much, but Trump is always a wild card. He enjoys being a wild card. So predictions, well, I'll withhold mine. I'll just make expressions of hope at this point.
let's hope it's all going to be for the best. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining me on the program. Always a pleasure to have you on World News Tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Daniel Fried, former U.S. Ambassador to Poland, was my guest. And so this marks the end of World News Tonight, but please do stay tuned. We're back in just a moment with more news and features, and we're going to see you there.